passing functions as parameter to another function. Passing function as a parameter. And second thing is object-oriented programming using JavaScript. So these are the two objectives of this session. So passing parameters to a function you're already familiar with. You have seen functions, and you have seen how to pass parameters to them. When you call them, you pass some parameters, and typically the function will do some work, and in most cases, it returns some results back to the code. What is new in JavaScript you might not have seen before is that you can pass a function, not data, not some value. You can pass a function as a parameter to another function. Very, very useful, very commonly used. So the best way to understand this is through examples. So first, here are some functions. Here what I'm doing is a function called square. It takes a parameter x and returns the square of the product of this parameter by itself. That's the square. Now, this one is also a function. That's another flavor, another style of writing a function. I just go ahead and create a function without a name. Can you see here? It does give it a name. And then I assign it to a variable. This is a bit strange. You haven't seen this before in other languages. In other languages, you create a function and then you call it. In here, you can create a function. What you can do to it? Assign it to a variable. And then I can use that variable to call the function. Yes, please.
The function has a return type. It will return to the value?
No. Here we are not return. No, here function always returns to the caller, never returns to the value. In here I'm not calling it. I am defining it. I haven't called it yet. So here I basically. What's another alternative way of writing this?
Just keep the function again.
Yeah, just write it this way. That's another way. Sorry. That's another way of writing this. Okay, you can write it this way, or you can write it this way. No problem. But what this way highlights, it highlights the fact that you can assign a function to a variable.
Doctor, can we have return type here?
Yes, you can, yes.
And the return value. We can. And then we assign this in a variable.
No, now when the return will return to whom? Or
yeah,
variable. Not in this place. Yes. So for example, if I say here, let return val equals display cool, and then if I do here console.log and I put this one, as you guess, what I will get? 1. So this will show cool and then 1. Okay. So return it's not returning this and assigning it to this variable. No. The whole function definition is assigned to a variable named display. Then the caller is the lucky one that will get the return value, not the variable that is we assign the function. Because here I'm assigning the whole function definition. It's clear so far? So you can. The reason why I'm showing you this is that you have to get used to this syntax. You can assign a function to a variable. Not only this, what gets even more interesting, you can take this function as pass it as a parameter to another function.
Yeah.
Now, here what this line is doing, declaring an array and initializing it with these values, 1 to 10. And here, arrays have a special, very, very useful method called map. So all arrays in JavaScript has a method called map. And what this method does, it visits every element and applies transformation to it. Applies some transformation. In this case, what transformation is applied? Squaring every element. And this will produce a new array. It will not affect the original one. It will produce a new one. So map is very, very useful function. You can go to an array, apply some transformation, and produce a new array. What about the original array? Will it change? Stays as is. So this map function is very, very useful. You use it to transform an array and to produce a new one. So here it is. What we're doing here, okay. What I'm doing here, I'll visit every element. Every element I'll be visiting. And then what I will do with these elements, square them and create a new array and assign it to this variable called squares. Then what I'm doing, taking those squares, again, visiting every element. This time I'm not squaring them, this time I'm just displaying. So this is a function, and I'm passing to it a function as a parameter. That is the idea. The idea I want to show you is that in JavaScript, what you can do with functions, of course you can call them, but you can also pass them as parameters to another function. It's very, very common in JavaScript, so that's why you will get used to it as we move forward. Many, many cases you will use it. One example of using them is using this pattern of passing function as a parameter when you are manipulating arrays. And this makes it very concise. Instead of using a loop and creating yet another variable, doing a loop and going through each element and doing the work yourself, you just call the map method and pass to it the function that does the transformation. Okay, so let me run it. Here it is.
Doctor?
Yes.
If we delete or we delete the line, return 1 in the
Yes.
display function.
Yep.
What will be the display? I mean, what will be the console? What will display if the return type that will display?
No, basically there is no return time. So in here it will basically do the work and don't return anything. So because functions even from C++, remember, you can have void. But in here, in JavaScript, we don't even specify the return type. Remember, it's loosely typed language. You don't need to specify. You see here the parameter, I don't specify the type. Return value, I don't specify the type. Because it is a not strongly typed language. The system will work out the type by itself at runtime. Is clear? So is clear what went on? Yes, please. Oh, sorry.
Return val, what will be the value of it?
Return val. Oh, yeah, I see. That one will be undefined. So let me just undo. Very good. So let me run it. See here? Undefined. Because it's a variable, basically the function did its job, returned nothing. So, which means the value that will be in return val will be undefined. Very good. Very good question. All right, so let us just remove this stuff, just to keep it simple for now. All right, is this clear so far? Now, if it's clear, let us make it a little bit more confusing. So, yes, please.
For the scope of the function, you said we can pass function to another function.
Okay.
Like the scope of passing it, it's like everywhere from
What do you
the same document or the same .js. So that you can pass functions. You can't pass it to other.
Okay. At this stage, the functions that are in this file, but we will see shortly. You can import functions from another file.
Okay,
if
so
you
this
wish.
is possible.
Yes, this is possible. Yes, like include or import. Yes, but that's a difference. All right. But for now, the functions that are in this file. But you can bring functions from other files using import and import. Okay. We will see that in the idea of modules. So JavaScript has the idea of modules. If you don't want this file to be kilometers, you can break it down into multiple files. And you can bring in the functions that you need from other files using import. And we will see this in more details. All right. So now that is clear, let us confuse ourselves a bit more. Here is the square. Instead of defining it first, I can, on the fly, define it. I can pass it. JavaScript people are not, By the way, if you write it like this, they will know you are scared of passing functions as parameters. But JavaScript people are not scared of doing something like this. You will see this very, very common. That you take a function and you pass it to another function, and without defining the function first, you pass it inline. This is anonymous function that doesn't have a name, and it is exactly the same as the previous one. All right, is it clear?
Yes.
In fact, if I run it, it's exactly the same. Here it is. Okay, exactly the same. I can do the same with this one. So instead of naming it first and then passing it, I can just pass it like this. No problem. All right, here it is. Passing it first. Exactly the same results. So passing functions as a parameter to another function is a fundamental feature and concept and practice in JavaScript. Don't be scared of it. You will get used to it as we move forward. Now, the JavaScript 2015 brought along a new syntax, a bit more lighter syntax. So what you can do here, instead of this function, because you will be writing function every time, lot of times. So they said, okay, no need to write function. We'll replace it with, these are called arrow functions. Exactly the same. Don't let the arrow functions confuse you. It's just another way of writing it. So you remove the keyword function, and you keep the parameters, and just replace it with the arrow. And this is called an arrow function or lambda expression. I can do the same with this other one. How do I convert this to an arrow function? Delete the word function, and replace it with an arrow function. Okay? Results, exactly the same. Sorry, just a second, I just run it. All right, that's it, the same, exactly the same.
The scope of the function, first, the function that is passed into the parameter of map, does it have to be anonymous? And there is no name in it? Like function, for example, square and then x.
If you put it in JavaScript, will not like it. Like you mean here? No. Let me try it. But not very common, even if it works.
Okay.
It worked. But not, you don't need to name it. But if you name it, it's fine. But it's not common.
Use it outside?
No, you cannot use it outside. Here, this is only visible to this map function. Only visible there. If you want to reuse it, define it first and then pass it. No problem. Okay? And by the way, this arrow function I just showed you. Oh, sorry. No, what did I do? Okay. Oh, thank you. Where is the undo? All right, undo. Control Z. Control Z. Oh, no, redo. Control Shift Z. Okay, Control Shift Z. Okay, good. No, didn't like it. I like Control Z. All right, no problem. Let me redo it. That's fine. Here it is. This one. All right, and then for this, I'll copy it. By the way, you can instead of this function, you can use the arrow function. No problem. And you can copy this.
Pass it as anonymous.
Yes, pass it as anonymous to this. No problem. So here, the reason why I'm saying this is very common. You will see it over and over. So be familiar with it. Now this one, you can compact it even further. If you have a return, if you are returning one value and you're not doing any work before the return, you can just compact it like this. Remove this. Remove this. You don't need this. You don't need the return. You just make it like this. Very compact. But you cannot do this for this one because this one is not returned. So if your transformation is simple, can be written in one line with a return, you can remove everything. You just put the input, arrow, and the output. Is clear? Exactly the same result. Exactly the same. Here it is. Exactly the same. All right, that's it. Now, the idea here is I am passing functions as a parameter to another function. There are three ways to do it. One, create a function, give it a name, and then pass that function name to another function. Second,
The anonymous.
yes, like put the function definition as a parameter, no problem. Or it's recommended for you to use the lambda or the arrow function, which is a more compact syntax. Especially when you have
Return.
a return, a simple return without any complicated computations. You just do it this way. This is the parameter, because a function, if you think of it, is just mapping a variable to some transformation of that variable. So in here I'm taking x and returning x times x. This, don't let this arrow function confuse you, it just gives you this compact way of writing things. That's all. Alright. Another alternative to use map is you can use for each. Exactly the same behave, except for each we look through. Yeah. Yes, but map, especially here, sorry, map in here is you must use map. Why is that? You are returning a new array. So map returns a new array, while for each is like a loop. It just looks through the.
So it changed the same array.
Here we are not Here we are not changing anything. Here we are just displaying.
Yes, I mean, but if it's if it does the return or computation, it will affect the actual.
If you do it explicitly, if you say, no, not really. For each, you just looping through the array. You are not changing anything, and you are not returning anything. You, for example, for display, yes, iterate through them. Okay, that is the idea. All right. So what else should I say? That's it. This is the main thing I want to show you. Let me show you another example, even more compact. A very, very interesting example. So in here I have an array that has 3 values. And I am doing, first of all, I am going ahead and what I'm doing to the array elements? Doubling them. Making them double. 1 becomes 1, 2 becomes 4, 3 becomes 6. And then what I'm doing? Reducing them or compacting them into one value, some value. I'm summing them into one. So instead of having two loops to do this exercise, or to do this, I can summarize all of it in one line. I'm just putting it there for you to see. But it's really one line. So the map transforms numbers and returns a new array that has the new values. And then I reduce. You use the reduce if you want to summarize the array into one value. Let's say.
You choose if it is summing or.
Yes, here is the operation.
Yes.
Plus or time or if it is subtraction, whatever operation you want to do. Okay? So the map and reduce, very useful functions that come with arrays to do manipulation of the array. Map, transform the array and then produce a new one. And then we have the reduce to summarize it into one value. So in here, when we start, sum will be, let's say, sum will be 1, then it will be 3, then it will be 6. And, sorry. It will be, remember that after the transformation is 2, 4, 6. So it will be 1, then 5, then 11. And the result will be 11. Is clear? There is also another very, very useful function called filter. You will use it very heavily in this course. You have an array, let's say you have an array of numbers, and then you can filter the odd ones in one array and the even ones in another array. You can use the filter function. You will use this in the lab. Here I just want to introduce the idea, and you will practice this one in the next lab. Is this clear? The idea is not just a map and reduce. This is a secondary thing I want to show you. What I want to show you and focus on, the ability to pass function as a parameter to another function. It's a new kind of concept for you coming from Java or from C++. Is clear so far?
Doctor, Here's the sum. It's adding like each same element at the same position together for the two arrays, or it's adding all together?
No. What it's doing, it's taking this value. Initially, let's say it will be initialized with the first element. Okay.
But if we say nums means the whole array?
Sorry?
يعني احنا أول شيء assign the whole array or?
Okay.
Because,
So
because of the name of the array, so it's the first element?
no, always the first element. Okay. Sum will be the first value will be the first element, and then you visit subsequent elements, and you keep adding them to the sum. That's how it works. So we reduce, the first element will come into the variable, and then you visit every subsequent element, and you keep adding it to this running total called sum. At the end, what you have at your hand is sum, which will be assigned to the sum variable. This could be other variable, it doesn't matter, it's not the same. This could be total.
And sum will be initially undefined?
No, sum will be initialized in the first element. Okay. So the way the reduce works, the way you declare it, always you declare a running kind of some container where you will put the results of this reduce. That container will be initialized with the first element. Then the reduce will keep, in this scenario, will keep adding to that container sum. At the end, you have the result of that sum. Okay. So it's just another way of, inside there is no magic. Inside of reduce, there is a loop that goes through and do all this stuff.
Yes.
But this is a more concise, more compact way for you as a developer to do this work. Okay? It will become clearer, you will play with this more in the lab, it will become much clearer. Debug, yes. You can. I'm not sure if you debug it, it will go through each step. I'm not sure. I haven't tried it. But you can debug. You can put a breakpoint, and instead of a running, you will do debug. Okay? And it will stop there, and you can step through the steps. It will be very good exercise. But really, we have to move on, unfortunately. You can do it very easily. You can, as I said, you can just put the breakpoint, right-click, and instead of doing a run, do debug. It will stop there and you can step through. I think you put F11 or some function to move forward in the program. Very useful for learning and very useful for finding hidden bugs that are not very obvious. You have to step through and see what's going on. All right, that's it. I have to really move on because especially for those of you having the lab today, you need to have the basic idea. And then next time we can discuss further if needed. All right, now that's it for the basic of JavaScript. Please go through the slide, go through the examples, plus the lab. Hopefully you get the basic idea. Now we need to build on those basic ideas and move to object-oriented programming. Because when you do in JavaScript, typically you can use two sides, functional programming or object-oriented. In fact, in practice, it's both at the same time. It's a hybrid language, functional and object-oriented. Now, let me, I will of course not introduce what is an object, what is a class that you're already familiar with. I will go straight into how you do it in JavaScript. Now, in JavaScript, there are three ways you can create objects. One is if you know the values, just go ahead and create the object on the fly without creating a class first. The second way is you create a class first. Third way, if you have an object already, you can create another object from it while keeping the inheritance between the two objects. I'll explain what this all means. Okay, and then we have modules you just mentioned. If you have a large program, you break it into multiple files, and then you import one file from another. Okay, so that is basically the idea. This is the way you organize your code, either into objects and classes and modules. So here it is. So I will come back and explain this. Might not make too much sense. So let me jump straight into the first way of creating an object. We kind of already seen it. It's called object literal. Object literal means you have the values already and you just want to put them together in an object. So here is how you do it. Declare your variable using var or let. Let is better. It's not very good. Let is better. Now, and then the reason I put var because I copied this code and play with it in the console in the browser. So it's better to use var in that case. Anyway, so here is the variable name equals, and you open the curly brace. If you just open the curly brace, you have an object. And then you can, inside the curly brace, you start defining what are the properties of that object. In here I have first name, colon, the value. Last name, colon, the value. Height, colon, the value. And name, colon, and the function name. So an object in JavaScript is nothing but a set of name, value, pair. The value could be anything. It could be a string, a number, a boolean, whatever. It could be a function. That's it. This is what an object is. And this notation, these curly braces and this name-value pair separated by colon, and the name-value separated by comma, this syntax is called JSON. JavaScript Object Notation. JavaScript Object Notation. Very, very famous way of passing information between systems. So if you go and ask Mr. Google what is this JSON, yeah, you will be surprised that it is so popular. Okay, very, very popular. It's a JavaScript notation. It's a lightweight data and interchange format. It was discovered in JavaScript. That was not the intention of having it, but it was there. And once people discovered it, it became a very famous way of exchanging information between systems. If you have an object, you want to pass it to another system, and write it as JSON string, pass it to the other system. The other system can convert it back to an object. You know that story of serializing.
Yeah.
But you will see in JavaScript, super easy, as I will show you. All right, so let us now just come here and just clear this one. Let me just clear it. All right, now let me go here and just pick up this object here, copy it, and then I'll go here and paste it. Here it created an object. Here is the object person. It shows me what are properties of that object. I can also go here and say person dot first name. Even the console have IntelliSense. It recognizes that this is an object and it shows you the properties.
Yeah. It's not useful when we have multiple objects, right?
What do you mean multiple objects? Yes, you can.
Multiple diversity, and we go to the other
Usually we don't deal with one object.
You can have, for example, we will see, you can have here person 1.
You mean
No, you can have arrays, you can have whatever, but what I want to say is you can declare multiple objects with different variable names, if you wish. So here, when this syntax is useful, if you already know the values, and you just want to put them together under one umbrella in one unit, you put them together as an object. Very, very useful. Okay. In other scenarios where you create multiple objects, you might create class first and then instantiate it. We will see that second way. But in here, you already have the values. You just want to put them together as an object.
Do we have a private object for the field?
In here, it's much harder to do it. You can. But out of the box, and what is common in JavaScript, all people use this way, properties are public. So you see here when I declare that, these first names are accessible when you do dot, they are accessible. So they are not hidden. You don't have that get and set that you have seen, that's encapsulation principle. In here, to keep it simple, properties are visible outside the object. Okay? So let me go back. Let me now do person.name. Here is person.name, which is a function. So I call it with parentheses, and it gives me the name concatenated. Now, if I don't call it with the parentheses, it gives me the definition, that's not what I'm interested in. But as soon as I put it in, it gives me the full name. All right? Now, the other very, very interesting idea in JavaScript objects, you can extend them on the fly. At runtime, you can add more properties. Let's say age. Here is age. You can add it. خلاص. Now, if I just say person, see there, age is added. So you can add properties or functions. Have a look at this. If I say to upper, okay, I want to make it a function. I will say equal function. It takes no parameters. And basically what it does, it returns this dot name, full name, dot to uppercase. So I'm adding a new function to this object. And now if I say person dot to upper, and even the IntelliSense detected this new function, I get I get the name uppercase. What I want to say here, you can extend the object at a runtime. This is not available in other languages. So being a loosely typed and a dynamic language, you can extend objects at a runtime. Is confusing or is it clear? Yeah. You create an object, then you can extend it by just going to the object dot, give it a name equal val. All right, and you can add functions if you wish as well. That's what a literal object means. Another way of doing it, exactly the same. You create an empty object. This is how 99% of people do it. This is weird if somebody does it this way, but you can do new object. But most people do it this syntax. And then you can start adding properties and adding methods. Now, in the methods, if you want to access the properties, you use this keyword. Similar to Java, you have seen this concept. So this is exactly the same. Of course, in here I have to do var if I want to access it. So let me just put var, and I'll come here, and then come here, paste it. All right, and then I'll do. You have the object. Okay, and it shows me that this object has a method called toString. So if I do here toString, it gives me the toString. Is clear? Okay, this is how we create an object literal using JSON notation. Now, if you already have variables, already declared. All you want to do, you want to put them together in one object. You can do this. Create a new object. I want to have a name and age. Or in 2016, 2015, they all want to compact things. So if you already have variables, you just put them together in one object like this. Very simple. Open the curly brace and use your variables. So if I take this as an example, of course I have to change this to var. Let me copy it.
Why?
Because every line here is its own scope. Once it's finished execution, it's not visible anymore. So if I want it to be visible so I can play with it further, I cannot use let. I have to use var. Here is var. All right. Now if I say person, it's bringing.
One by one, right?
No, you can access, yes.
Because you didn't give them a name.
No, sorry, this one is still picking up the old one. The reason why, have a look. No, have a look at this. Because I still using var, I should use let. Okay, now, I do person, name, and age. Same.
How can you get one of them?
Yeah, same person dot name. So basically, the name of the property will be the same name as the variable.
Yes.
Name age. It's just a compact way instead of writing it. If you wish, you can write it this way, no problem. But why should you do that? Before 2015, you do that. But 2015, people have more. They want to spend some time on Facebook, Twitter, so they said, okay, save you some time using lambda like arrow functions and these little tricks to make it quicker. Yeah, that's it. All right. Now let me show you another way. Another way to access the object is to use something like this: person name. So two ways you can access the properties, either using the dot or using this dictionary syntax. You know the dictionary data structure? You have seen it. Dictionary or map, sorry. Dictionary. In .NET, C# people, they call it dictionary. In Java people, they call it map. You remember the map data structure? You have a key and you have a value. Objects in JavaScript are nothing but maps. They are keys and values. What is the key? The name of the property. And the value is?
The value of the presentation.
You get the idea? So this is not very common, but just be aware of it. The most common is you use the dot notation. Okay. Remember, I think we had that. Okay. Let's say person. Let me just say person. Okay, let's say we don't want age. People don't want to reveal their age. No problem. Delete person dot age. You can delete. Similarly, you can add properties and function at a runtime. You can also delete properties if you wish. And if I say person, the age is gone.
So we can override the thing.
Of course, you can change the value. Name. Sorry, person. Dot name. Okay, so here, Kabir is no longer Samir. Kabir. Okay, you can change, no problem. If you say person, you get Samir Kabir, no problem. So that's it. This is how you can read. This is how you read from an object. This is how you write to an object. And if you don't like the property anymore, you don't need it, you can delete it. You can see the dynamic, very dynamic and very flexible compared to the static languages you have already seen. Now, if you want to pass it around, if you want to send this object around to another application, you will make it a string. Because remember, string or text is understood by everyone, by all applications. So you basically serialize it to a string and then deserialize it on the other side. That's what makes JSON a very, very famous data exchange format. Now, if I have an object, let's say person1. Remember this person1? Here's a person1. Now, I want to make it a string. Luckily, I don't need any extra libraries like in Java to serialize and deserialize. There is a built-in object called JSON, and it has a method called stringify. Very strange name. Make it a string, basically. And then you say person1. Here it is. That's it. Here, this is a string. Take it, give it to somebody else through the internet, and they will get back as a
And there is
they can
another
deserialize.
function to utilize.
Yes, for sure. So here, let's say I received this one from somewhere, and I want to reconstruct the object. Simple. Back again in one line, I declare another variable person4 equals, again, JSON.parse is parse, and then I give it the string that I received. Here is the string I received. Okay. New object is constructed called person4. If I say person4.firstName, I get the first name. So you can serialize using JSON.stringify, and you can deserialize using JSON parse. Very simple methods to serialize and deserialize.
Doctor, you can put JSON dot parse person one, right?
No, that parse takes a string. Remember, when you want to, you have an object, which is a JSON object. The recipient could be Java, could be C#, could be other language.
But they always understand string.
Yeah, they always understand string. But you want to send a structured string, not just a comma delimited and give hard time to the recipient to reconstruct it. So you convert it to a string, JSON string, you send it through the network, and the recipients could be anything. Those of you maybe took mobile development, maybe have seen JSON on the mobile device. And that is why it is very, very famous. Okay? So JSON is built in JavaScript before even these services and web services were discovered or were invented. Okay? So it was there, just people said, oh, before that, people used to use XML. Those of you maybe have seen XML before. It will be something like this, person, and you close the tag, person.
And you put a subtag.
Yeah, and you put here first name, you put the value, you close it off, last name. You see a lot, very, very verbose. There are more tags than content. While the JSON is much more lighter. That's why it is very, very famous. So if you want to make something famous, keep it very, very simple and light. Don't try to make it too sophisticated unnecessarily. This is another feature that is brand new in 2015 called Deconstructing Object. Remember this? This is the reverse of this. You have variables. You want to put them under one umbrella, one unit in an object. This is the way you do it. Now, if you want to do the opposite, you have an object, you want to deconstruct it into variables, you can do that as well. So here is how you do it. So I have here an object. And by the way, an object could be nested. The address is yet another object. You see here? This is the name and this is the address. Now, let's say I have three variables, name, address, and city. And I want to extract them from this object. This is how I do it. Let, between curly braces, my variables, and then equal person. This will basically extract the name, put it in name, extract address. In here, like address, we just want the city. Okay? And you can extract the city and put it in this variable address. Yes. So basically, this is for the lazy people that want to spend more time somewhere else. So instead of doing name equal person dot name, address a city equal person dot address dot city, that city, you do it this way, more compact. That's all. This is called deconstructing an object. So this is number one. Number two is you can create a class, similar to the classes that you have seen before in Java. So here is an example. Here is an example defining a class. That's it. This is a class. This is a class called student. It has a constructor. You have a special method called constructor. They didn't adopt the Java way, the name of the class without the return value. You just use the keyword or the key, like a reserved function name called constructor, and you pass to it the parameters to initialize the object. And then you go ahead and initialize the object. Don't forget that this keyword. So these will be properties of the student. And then you can create methods like this. Okay.
Without even putting function.
Without putting function. Just put the method name and curly brace and define what it is.
Those methods will be specific to that class, right?
Yes, this is a method of this class.
Yes.
All right. And then you can go ahead and instantiate objects from the class.
Now it's needed then, yeah.
Yes. Now because you are doing the classical way, class-based. You create a class and then you instantiate it using the new keyword. In here, They borrowed a lot of stuff from Java.
But can I use the JSON, for example, stringify for object from classes?
Okay, now if you receive a string, you don't need to create a class to deserialize it. In Java, if you receive a string, to deserialize it to an object, you must have a class.
Now, for example, can we now use this class to make it a
Like
JSON object? يعني can we say stringify for this?
No, not class, for the object, whether you create it from a class, or you create it from another object, or you create it literally is the same. You can stringify it, you can do whatever you want. You extend it, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same, yes. But of course you cannot serialize a class. Class is just is a definition.
It's an abstract.
It's an abstract, something abstract. You need to instantiate it first. So it's the same concept you're already familiar with. It is clear? All right, this is another example, Polygon. So in here I have a constructor, it has two properties, height and width. And then I go ahead and initialize them. And then this is the concept of a method. And this is the concept of a get property. So in here, the get, I use this get keyword, space, and the name of the property. Now, the difference is, the difference between a get property and a method. The get property, when I call it, I don't put parentheses. While the method, when I call a method, I put a parenthesis. This is the only difference. Is clear? So you can make a class. Sorry, you can make a method look like a property by using the get keyword. Or the most common, what most people do, they just make it a method like this. Then give it a name. It can have parameters if you wish, and you define what it does. Okay. That's it. This is, if you want to do inheritance, no problem. You can do inheritance. This is animal class, and we have a cat that extends animal. And the speak method, it uses the super class behave, and it has its own behave. So exactly the same kind of very close syntax to Java.
Why would we do the get and the normal method way?
Okay, this is your. Basically, this is. Now, this is your style of programming. Most people will go for this. They just use a method. Now, because this one is returning a value, if you wish, you can treat it as a property rather than a method. So when you call in it, here it looks like, it doesn't look like it is a method. So it depends how you want to do it. It's your own kind of preferred style. But most people will do this. A method, you call it, it does some work, and returns some value to you. The only difference is that here you are making it easier for the caller without putting parentheses. Okay, last thing I want to show you is you can create an object from another object, which is called object-based inheritance. So in here I create, let's say I have here animal, and then I have here dog, which extends animal. All right, and then I create an object called dog. And from that object, I create another object. Have a look. How do I create an object from another object? I say object.create and give the object I want to create from, and it creates a copy of it. Then I take this copy and I can add more stuff to it, and I'm extending the copy. I'm saying this copy has more parameters, more properties. Now the good thing is, if I go and extend the original object, the derived object will get that new behavior. You see here, have a look. What did I do in this line?
Created
Created an object from this object. Okay. Now what I'm doing in this line? I'm extending the origin. Yes, this spot will also get the extension. So it's not only cloning, making a copy, it's cloning plus keeping the link to the original object. If the original object gets extended or changed, you get that behavior. You see here when I say Scott.age, it gives me the age. Also, although the age was defined
Only after.
after I created the object. So it's not only cloning, it's all cloning plus
Synchronous.
keeping that link with the original one. If the original one changes, added some properties or changed its behavior, the cloned copy or the cloned object also gets those changes. Is clear? The three ways? So you will need to practice this for you to really appreciate it. So inshallah next time what is left, just give me 1 second. Inheritance, kind of, we've seen it. The only thing I will explain to you is this prototype chain. This one, you don't need to understand it to use it, to use object. You have now the knowledge to use it. Now if you want to understand how inheritance works, in terms of understanding, not programming, you need to understand this concept of prototype chain and how inheritance works in JavaScript. So why we do this in the lab, when inshallah when we come back, we can go through this further. Sorry, there is one more thing. Like Tuesday, I have to be in a conference in the convention center. If it's feasible, I would really appreciate if we can move our class to Thursday, if that's okay with you. Thursday, the only time I can see except one student.
have lecture lab.
Yeah. Sorry. No, Thursday, I can see here only one student have a class. 2 to 3. Can you see here?
Yes,
2 to 3.
please.
Is that
Yes, I don't know.
not visible? Because I can see here is your schedule. This is the common. The only times, it's very hard. You can see. The only time where one student have class is this. Others are very late.
But there is a student who you cannot schedule.
It's not very important.
Yeah, I will see. Maybe I'll have to come back to the lecture.
Doctor, on Thursday I'm having a lab that it's not in the schedule, like set it as a lab, but they shifted the time on the.
They shifted.
Yeah, Thursday 5
Okay,
p.m.
So أنت هذيك اللعبة؟
ما قلت لك
So most likely I have to go. I will be appreciated if it's feasible.
We can have a lecture and record it, so the students that will not be able to attend.
Yeah, we can do that. Yes. You have from 2 to 3? Is it?
No, not this. Doctor, it's not in like.
No, I know. What I mean is Thursday. You have class from 2 to 3?
From 4 to 6.
Okay, so it's fine. There is one student that either we can beg them to escape another class, or I can record it and make it available, or they can come to office hour. I can explain it to them again. So I would really be appreciated if it's feasible.
From 2
Thursday, 2 to 3.
Yes.
Instead of Tuesday. This is only for this week only.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I will send my email with the location. I will I will try to put it on YouTube, but I'm not sure if it will be clear. I will put it.